Hi, my name is Autumn Clark. Um, I'll be talking about the lesson plan template. So, the lesson plan template that we're using for this course, I've never used anything like that. Um, we don't use a lesson plan at my school. It's called something else. It's called a pacing guide. So, for our for our pacing guide, it's Monday through Friday, and it's like a chart, and each day there are all the core subjects that we teach, and then under each one of those subjects we put the section in the lesson and the page numbers in there, and then we embed links to our PowerPoint presentations, and then we also put the homework in there. This year they want us to include standards, which is going to make the length of the pacing guide longer, but it just shows what we're doing every day. And then in addition to that, we have our exemplars that we have to do weekly, and our exemplars we have to use the quizzes. This is for math and ELA. We don't have to do exemplars for science, but for math and ELA, for math we have to use the weekly quiz, and we have to work the quiz ourselves, and then we also have to annotate it how we're going to implement that in the classrooms, what anchor charts we're going to use, instructional strategies we're going to use, which includes an anchor chart, and what models, manipulatives, all of those things we're going to include while teaching. What questions are we going to be asking the kids? What do we want it to look like when they're doing their independent practice? All of those things that we include in our exemplar, and then we have to present it to our deans and principal weekly. For ELA, we have to do race strategies, we have to use the race strategy to work the constructive responses that are at the end of each lesson. Um, and what we're looking for, how students are showing their evidence, how are they explaining all of those things. So those are our two. So this is completely new to me because we don't we don't include the TPEs. I feel like, we just don't include the TPEs. TPEs are not something that's new to me, but I'm interested in how I'm going to be more intentional with incorporating that. And then also, like, for the gifted students, because I have some students in the past who always finish everything very quickly, so just having something prepared for them to do. I usually make them helpers in the classroom, but it would be better to have something else for them to do outside of that. And then also my students, my diverse learners, just having everything planned out to show make sure every single area is covered. I actually enjoyed working on the lesson plan. And I know that's a lot of work. I know teachers, I work at a charter school, so I know teachers at other schools actually use this method. I think we've been a little bit spoiled using the pacing guide. However, we are pairing it with other things, so then it all comes together in the form of a lesson plan. But it would be better if it was just more cohesive and everything was together all in one. So yeah. I also forgot to mention that we also do backwards by design model, and we do this in the beginning of every quarter, so that we can familiarize ourselves um, prior to teaching. And that's because, I think it's because no teacher just wants to go in blindsided and not know what they're doing. And I know I've had my experiences where I'm not prepared, and I'm just like, okay, we're about to teach this. And with the backwards design model, you've already went through everything. You're working backwards so that you know that once you get in front of your students, you already know what you're doing. You know what quizzes, you know what the standard is, you know your KWLs, like what you want your students to know, like what they're supposed to get out of the lesson, the objectives and all of that. So it's better to know ahead instead of just being surprised when you open up your teacher book, your teacher textbook, or the curriculum and not knowing what you're teaching. So the backwards by design model paired with the pacing guide, paired with the exemplar, those are all things that we use. However, the template seems like it's more cohesive and it just seems easier. Instead of doing all these different things, just have one document and all of those things are together.